You're listening to That Sports Card Show with Vincent Tulo and AJ Tulo.
Welcome to That Sports Card Show, everyone. Back with episode number 8. I hope everybody got a chance to listen to our last episode with Rick Klein, political director of ABC News. So far, that's been our highest downloaded episode and probably the one we've gotten the most feedback, positive feedback on, and we appreciate it. I just want to say thanks to Rick Klein for agreeing to do the episode. That was a pretty big get for us. We also had another big event this week. It was our co-producer and our editor and our main technical advisor, AJ Tulo, his 16th birthday this week. So, another year older, another year wiser. So, before we go any farther, let me say a word for our good friends at BallCube. BALLQUBE, the original ballcube.com. I'm sure most of you have been to a baseball game and gotten a nice baseball or football or some piece of memorabilia autographed by your favorite player, and you bring it home and you need a case for it, so you go down to the local Kmart or Walmart or one of these stores and you get the generic case to put it in. Then 2 weeks later, you've got a yellow case with this treasured piece of memorabilia you've got in there, and it looks bad. Well, you can avoid all that by going to BALLQUBE.com and free shipping on all orders over $75. All of their products are made in the USA. Check out all their the list of their products. You can check out their Facebook page. Twitter is @BallCube, BALLQUBE, and they also have an Instagram page, BallCube, for all your memorabilia and collectible needs. So this week, we've got a great guest, and I'm so glad that he agreed to do the show. It was so fun talking to him. It is Mike James, internationally known artist. He's worked for just about every major card manufacturer and company that there is. He has his own line of cards that he's coming out with. It's called Welcome to the Show. The Welcome to the Show set that he has made and designed and did all the artwork for features sideshow performers. And it's really cool, and we were really happy to have him on the show. Now, I just want to say that the first minute of audio on the podcast, Mike's audio is a little bit garbled, but it levels off about after the 60-second mark, so it's good. So, Mike James. And we are joined today with Mike James, internationally known artist. How's it going, Mike?
How you doing? Oh, it's going great. How you doing?
Thanks for calling in and joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no worries at all. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you.
So, first thing, how did you get started in art?
As long as I can remember, even when I was a little kid, I've always been doing art. Always doing faces, always doing people.
Yeah.
And then I didn't start really getting into the detailed art until probably the end of high school.
Uh-huh.
And then I went through university. I took fine art there. And then I took graphic design after in college.
Uh-huh.
So then once I was at that point, I actually ended up doing all the same stuff that I was doing before I went to school. So it was all just portraiture again.
So how does graphic design, how does that interplay with the art that you do? How does that?
At the time, it didn't really have anything to do with the art I was doing, but I was having trouble figuring out what to do for a career.
Uh-huh.
So I sort of backed away from the art as a full-time thing and went into just doing graphics. And then I reached a point where I didn't want to just do the graphics anymore. It wasn't bringing me the same kind of joy, and everything just sort of started falling into place where I was starting to get more recognized for my art, and I finally reached a point where I could step back and stop doing the graphics almost entirely and just start doing art full time.
Oh, okay, I see. So,
but it all came together in the sense of like the trading card set all fell together that way, like graphics and the art. It just all combined to work together. So.
Okay, so like when you were getting started, how long did it take you to like develop a style? Because I know you got a certain style to your work, from what I've seen.
Which is funny because I don't even know what the style is.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. Like I look at other artists and I see right away. I can tell as soon as I see somebody's art who it is. So but I've never actually noticed whether I have one or not. But
so it's just organic. It's just how it comes out of you then.
Yeah, I guess it just kind of evolved over time. It's probably changed in the last 5 or 6 years because that's when I first started using markers. I was almost always just using colored pencils and pencil for it, and then I started using acrylic paints for a while. And now almost all the work that I do is trading cards.
Oh,
so I use almost all Copic markers and pencil crayons and stuff. So I guess once I started with the markers and the pencil crayons, that maybe sort of solidified what my style is now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But everything I do is just like straight up realistic stuff. I work almost always from photos and just create it that way.
That is what I thought too. I almost thought that maybe your work could be considered like hyper realistic because the images almost jump out of the page. They're so real.
Yeah, it's almost more of illustration than art, if that makes sense. Like I've always just been able to look at images and just recreate them.
Right.
Pretty close, whether it's pencil sketching or painting or anything. So I guess it's just the way my brain works. I don't know.
So when you were starting out, did you like have a bunch of friends and family and stuff that got you into doing art, or was it something you just kind of picked up on your own?
I swear I was born with it. I don't really remember anybody influencing me when I was younger. I just knew that I loved it, and I drew all the time. I do remember when I was younger, my dad was good friends with a Canadian wildlife artist named Glenn Lotes. Now, it was different style stuff because he was strictly drawing wildlife, but I got to sit down and meet him a couple of times, and that was pretty cool. And again, it's not the same type of art, but I'm sure anything like that I had, any opportunities I was given like that just helped, reinforce what I was doing.
Right, as like an influence.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, if you look at Glenn Lotes' work, it's all very hyper-realistic as well.
Ah.
I probably didn't know it at the time. I'm pretty sure I was drawing wrestlers all the time back then because, Hulk Hogan was everything when I was a kid. But.
Well, he still is.
So, but I'm not sure where it came from. It's just always been there as long as I can remember.
Yeah. So how old were you when you realized that this is what you wanted to do, that this is what you want to do for a living?
7 or 8 probably.
Like,
you know what I mean? Like I just knew that I was an artist.
Really, at that young of an age, you knew that this is what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I didn't know probably as a kid that would be my job growing up or not. And especially figured that out when I was in university. It started to dawn on me that having a career as an artist can be a pretty tough thing if you're not approaching it right.
Oh, yeah.
But I guess as a kid, I just always knew that art was what I was going to be doing in some capacity. Maybe that's why I got into graphics, because it's still kind of a creative field, but it just seemed like it would be far easier to find full-time work that way.
Find some commercial job making print ads or something.
Yeah, something.
Yeah. So you apparently went from that, and you worked in a sideshow, or before I ask that, what is the proper terminology for that? Is it a sideshow or is it a freak show?
I prefer the term sideshow personally.
Yeah.
I'm sure back in the day it was called freak show. I really didn't mind being called a freak when I did what I did. It was okay, but I prefer sideshow now, I think.
Sideshow? Well, I didn't know. I'm not real familiar with it. I didn't know what the proper terminology for it was.
I'm sure if the term freak offends somebody, they would probably let you know.
Yeah. I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I don't know how far back you go, but I remember that MTV used to show midnight movies back in like the late 80s, early 90s, and they'd always play that one, Freaks, the Todd Browning movie from the 30s.
Yeah.
That's a dark movie.
Yeah, that's beyond, I've seen the movie, but I didn't start getting into, like the sideshow that I got into when it first started had nothing to do with any historical aspect of sideshow at all. And
Yeah.
it didn't start until my last year of university and the year after that. So 99 probably is when the great Orbax and I started doing sideshow.
So you was doing a sideshow. What exactly were you doing in the sideshow?
I remember him and I, we went to go and see, I believe it was the Carnival Diablo show. We probably went into Toronto, and we thought it was fantastic, and it was the first time I'd ever actually seen a live sideshow,
Mm-hmm.
and we thought it was great. So then we started joking about how we could make a completely comedic approach to it, because I had no skills as a sideshow performer, and I don't think he had any skills at that time either. So we were trying to figure out if we could come up with acts that would be totally hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It took no skill. So we came up with like horrible acts like the boy who could lick dogs, and we had the man with one cheese leg, and we were just going to make it. And we never performed any of this, but we were just talking about it. And then we started figuring out things we could do. And then one day we just became the lamest sideshow on earth, and that was our name. And I'm pretty sure the first show we did was probably at the Guelph University family picnic,
Yeah.
something along those lines. And
Is
it
that
just
Canada?
started from there. Yes, that's Canada.
Oh, okay. So I know a lot of times in these circuses and freak shows that there is a lot of very distinctive art that'll be up on walls and like the trailers they have. You ever do anything like that when you were in the sideshow?
No, Orbax always had some.
Oh, okay.
Orbax was, like I said, he was the one that did it with me. He always had really cool paintings and stuff. I never did any of that, which is weird because I guess I didn't associate my art with doing sideshow. I guess they were two totally different
Yeah, it seems like
things to me.
it would be something up your alley, you know, it'd be your lane.
Yeah, which is kind of funny looking back at it. Why I never would have done any of those big paintings or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of funny.
So when you was in that sideshow, did you do much traveling?
Just locally, just Canada-wide. I mean, now I know that the Monsters of Schlock, like that's Orbax and Sweet Pepper, they're both in the trading card set. They do a lot of traveling around, which is really cool. All around Canada, all across the States, they're going to Europe and stuff. So, I mean, they're doing it full-time hardcore.
Yeah.
We were just doing it more, within a few hours driving kind of thing.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if, I know a lot of times the people in the carnivals and the sideshows, they do nothing but travel constantly. And apparently that you didn't have to do that.
No, not at the time. We were a little more low budget, I guess, which is part of the whole shtick of the lamest sideshow on earth.
Right. That reminds me of a story when this has been a few years ago. We went to the local carnival here in town, here in Columbus, and there was a sideshow going on, and they had a young lady who was carnival barker. She was very good looking. She had no problem drawing a crowd, right? Saying she's out front and she's like, step right up, come see the show. So I'm walking up and she's got one of those canes, and she's like, you can get closer. I don't bite. And she hits me with that cane, pulls me closer. She's like, biting costs extra, but not that much extra. So, I was cracking up. So I gave my $2 or whatever, and we went back and saw the sideshow. I think they actually called it a freak show. But it was like the guy with no leg and a few other things like that. Then you made your way down to the end, and they had like a magician and a couple other things going on. And then at the very end, she brings out, now see, this is another thing I don't know the proper term. Is it a midget, a dwarf, a little person? I don't know.
Little person,
Okay,
I assume. But
she brings out this little person, this really old guy. And she's like, thanks, and I hope you all enjoyed the show. This is, I can't remember his name, but she's like, this is the last living munchkin from the Wizard of Oz, and he owns this sideshow. And everybody give him a round of applause. I remember thinking, wow, that's really cool. And later on, I Googled that just to see. I was like, last living munchkin owns a carnival. Then apparently that's a story that every carnival that has a little person in it tells. He's not really the owner and wasn't ever in the movie. That's apparently an infamous story that they all tell. So,
which is funny because I haven't heard of that, so that's pretty cool.
They had me hook, line, and sinker, which reminds me of the P.T. Barnum's had a suckers born every minute. They totally had it.
Oh, yeah.
But for the $2...
Well, that's what a lot of sideshow was, right? It was always manipulation in some
right. But
manner.
For the $2 or whatever it was that I paid to get in, it was well worth it. I got a memorable story out of it for $2.
Oh yeah, and I mean that's the purpose of it, right? For such a big part of it is the entertainment value.
Yeah, it was very.
So whether it's real or fake, it didn't seem to matter. It's having a good time, right?
Exactly. So you're in the sideshow, and you've been doing art. How do you transition from a sideshow job to doing card art, or was there something in between? Where are you at with it?
Well, it's kind of funny because the sideshow it's not like it was a full-time gig for me.
Okay.
Right. So I did it. We toured around. We did stuff, especially during Fosh weeks when schools were starting up.
Mm-hmm.
Colleges, universities were always looking for some sort of entertainment. Right around Halloween was always really busy for us.
Uh-huh.
But it wasn't I could work during the day, so I was working as a graphic designer for a tech company for a while. And this is kind of my night job, I guess.
Oh, okay.
So but I mean, like I said, it was an organic thing. I didn't plan. I didn't say one day, man, I'm dying to be a sideshow performer. It
Right.
just it fell together more as a joke.
Yeah,
and
really.
then it just sort of morphed from there into figuring out, like I said, things that we could do. So I had my own bits, and Orbax had his own bits.
Mm-hmm.
He was the main barker of the show, and I was just kind of the guy who stood back, and I never really spoke. He just manhandled me on stage all the time.
So what was this guy's name? The Orbax? The Great Orbax?
The Great Orbax.
Okay.
The Great Orbax.
Does he still
You should
have a
Google it.
sideshow
It's
going?
Fascinating. Yeah, him and a fellow named the Sweet Pepper Klopek.
Oh,
The
okay.
Great Orbax and Sweet Pepper Klopek, they're part of the Monsters of Schlock.
And still
So
touring?
Orbax still lives. Sorry?
They're still touring and still active today?
Yeah, they're always doing stuff, it seems.
Huh. I will look them up.
Yeah, they're very entertaining.
Okay. So what was your first card job? What was the first cards that you actually worked on and did?
The first thing that I did that was card-oriented was probably way back in, I want to say it was 2003, for a company called Be a Player, which then became In the Game.
Right.
And I did some hockey art that became like an insert card set.
Uh-huh.
And then for years, I didn't do anything with the card industry.
Huh.
And then it wasn't up until, I don't know, the last 7 or 8 years, I ended up actually working for In the Game as a graphic designer for a while. So was working on the design for baseball cards and hockey cards and some of their non-sport products.
Yeah.
And as well as that, I started doing art for pack insertion. So I would do original art cards and stuff that got put into the packs of some of those products.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of where it started from.
I've seen In the Game occasionally here in the States, but is that something that's mainly in Canada, or is it down here a lot too?
Well, they were primarily a hockey card company, and I'm assuming that the hockey card seems to be more popular in Canada.
Right.
And I'm guessing baseball, football, that's going to be more popular in the U.S. So I know, I'm sure a lot of diehard collectors, hockey fans and stuff would know who In the Game is for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I would think it's probably more of a Canadian thing.
Yeah. So by now, you've worked for how many different companies have you worked for now, and different sets have you worked for now?
Well, let's see. After In the Game, I ended up doing work for Cryptozoic.
Yeah.
I did work on card sets like Hobbit and Walking Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Rittenhouse Archives. I've done a number of Star Trek sets, Game of Thrones, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I know they have a new baseball set coming out from Honus Bonus, which is one I've worked on. I've worked with Leaf.
Mm-hmm.
I have worked with Super Break Sports, Tops. So there's a number of different companies, and it just feels like every month or so something else comes in the mail, and
now I've seen a number of those cards you did from the Sons of Anarchy, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and a couple of the Star Trek ones especially. And it's like I was talking about earlier. They're almost hyper-realistic. They just seem to pop off the page. And you have an uncanny way of capturing the likenesses of people where it's almost photorealistic. And a lot of artists, I notice, just don't do that.
And I'm wondering whether it's just patience. I spend a ton of time on the cards, sometimes probably too much. It's almost like I don't look at what I get paid for doing the art. Once I start, it's just a matter of I'm going to do it until it's done.
Yeah.
And if it ends up taking me extra time, it is what it is. So I find I'm a very slow worker.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, especially on the really, really detailed pieces.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I guess that's almost, I don't know if therapeutic's the right word, but that brings me so much joy to be able to look at a piece afterwards, and instead of saying, oh man, I spent 4 or 6 hours on it, I'd rather look at it and go and say, I'm really proud of it. So I think that's kind of how I've always based everything that I do.
Well, I think that the extra time you put in on your work, it really comes through in the finished product. Because I was a couple weeks ago, I seen there was a Ronda Rousey card you did, and the likeness on it was just uncanny.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it was an actual signature card. It was a custom card you had made.
Yeah, I've been doing a few of those. I went out and I bought one of her autographed books and made my own custom 5x7 card and mounted the signature right into the bottom of it. Mm-hmm. So, I've been toying for the last while. I've just been toying with different ideas, something I can do to try to be a little bit different. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things I came up with. But, yeah, the Rousey one was really cool.
Yeah. So, have you had any stars from the movies or the sports world contact you after they've seen your work to like say, "Hey, that's a great pic of me," or anything like that?
Back when I was younger, I did some work for Bobby Orr's company, Great North Road. We just did a series of painted jerseys, so that was pretty cool.
Wow.
There's been a few Major League Baseball players that have actually received my work. I was a huge Cal Ripken fan growing up.
Yeah, weren't we?
So
all?
I did a few paintings of Cal Ripken on baseballs. And at one of the baseball games, when he came to Toronto, I was lucky enough to actually get to right down beside the dugout, and I gave him one of the baseballs, and he said he'd sign the other one for me. So he owns, I don't know whether he still has it or not, but he owned one of my works. I think Frank Thomas, I gave one to Frank Thomas. Again, whether he knows who I am anymore, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
I know there's been a couple of UFC fighters who've commented on my work. Mm-hmm. There's been Jerry Ryan from Star Trek commented on my Instagram. So I know there's been some people that have seen it, so that's kind of cool. It's always exciting to know that, somebody that you're drawing has actually looked at your work. I don't know what it is that's so cool about that, but it's kind of neat.
Yeah, they appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, when I was researching you, I noticed that a lot of what you do, now whether it's for commercial purposes or not, I don't know, but you have a lot of, like, music type of stuff. Like, I noticed there was some iconic pictures you had of, like, Bob Marley and Prince and a lot like rock and roll type theme stuff. Is that just, like, an interest of yours, or?
Oh, that's my favorite. Yeah. If I could do anything I wanted to art-wise and get paid for it full time, I would probably be doing music.
Yeah.
But right now, for some reason, I don't have a market for the music art, which is okay, because what it means is that those pieces are just done because I want to do them. So if you go down to my basement right now, my walls are covered in, well, other than sideshow art, my walls are covered in music art right now, because that's what drives me. I get to sit and paint every day, draw every day, and I listen to records of all my favorite stuff. So it's always been fueling me. Ever since I was a kid, I was a huge music fan. Mm-hmm. So I get to, when I have the time, I always get to draw all the legends, all the people that inspired me growing up. So it's kind of neat.
So you haven't never done any album covers for anybody or designed rock T-shirts or anything like that? Because I think you'd be good at that.
No, nothing along those lines. The closest I've gotten to doing anything to do with music, in the game there was another company that was one of their salons. They did a music set from famous fabrics. Mm-hmm. And I did 90 different musician cards it was 90 different deceased musicians from a few different genres of music. So that's the closest that I've had to sort of incorporating my art and my music and everything together. So.
Wow, fantastic. Okay, so apparently you have a new set that you have for sale. Welcome to the show. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I guess for the last while, I was just looking for something that I could do. I knew I wanted more. I wanted to start creating my own thing. And the problem is everything that I've always done, all of the art I've done, it's always licensed material. It's always sports stuff. It's always TV and movies.
Right.
And if I wanted to start making my own sets of those, I have to go get a license for it. So it was really frustrating for a little while trying to figure out, well, what can I do that hasn't been done before that I can make happen? Mm-hmm. And then it just sort of started. yeah, it just sort of started coming up. Well, I really love Sideshow, even though I retired long ago.
Mm-hmm.
I always loved it, and I started thinking, I wonder if it would be possible. And I didn't know whether there'd be a fan base for it. I had no idea, and I just started toying with the idea. And then Orvax and I are still friends. And I started talking to him about it, and he sort of said, I could probably get you in touch with some people. Let me know who you're looking for, who you want to maybe put in a set or something, and we'll see what we can do. So between him and I, we started just sort of figuring out who I'd like to, add in for a first set. And then we just started contacting people. So I started contacting different performers, and everybody's been fantastic. And the response was great. And then it just started happening from there. I didn't really know how it was going to work. I just started doing art of the different performers. I made a card design, and then I started shipping it all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
I was shipping out to Australia and New Zealand and Finland and France and the UK, and it was really cool. And over the course of 5 or 6 months, I started getting all of the autographed cards back from all the different people that we'd signed on.
Yeah.
And it just came to light, And maybe at first I didn't even know if it was really going to happen, if it was just an idea or not. And then as it started, as the autographs started coming back, it just started becoming more and more clear. And then I knew the day I got the last autograph cards back in the mail, I knew, okay, this is it. This is really going to happen. So
yeah. So you were just,
and the reception's been fantastic.
You were just putting in the work and then just seeing where it would lead you.
Yeah, and I had an end result. I had a plan.
Yeah.
When I started, I knew that I wanted to have something out there, and I had a goal that I wanted to do it within 6 months, kind of thing. But maybe at the beginning, maybe I didn't know how realistic that was.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was right when I expected everything to sort of come out, everything started coming together. So, I knew something would happen. I just didn't know it would be as quick as it did. I guess being my first project, I assumed there'd be a lot more hitches and stuff, and things would be delayed, but everything seemed to work pretty well.
Anytime it's the first time you do something, there's a learning curve. You kind of learn what not to do,
Oh, for sure. I've looked back on this one already and said there's so many ways I can save myself some time, and
right.
do things better.
So how long did it take you to get this project together? From
I
conception?
probably started in August.
Oh.
Thinking about it, August was probably when I started working on it. Maybe a little bit before that, but somewhere around that range. And then getting the printing, that part was fairly fast.
Mm-hmm.
But it was just sorting out all the details, packaging, things I hadn't really thought about at the beginning. I knew I wanted to do it, and then I just sort of let everything happen as it happened. And then everything before release date, it all just kind of came together. Spent a lot of time thinking about it, probably more than doing it, which was good.
Right.
And then everything just fell into place, and I was lucky enough to have it come out when I was hoping it would come out right at the beginning of the year.
So how can people get their hands on this?
Right now, I'm just doing it myself. I have a Facebook page.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Welcome to the Show group on Facebook.
Welcome
so people
to the
can
show.
Just go right on. Yeah, if you just do a search for Welcome to the Show, I don't know, it always comes up for me right away.
Welcome to the Show on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also have my own art page, which is like facebook.com/Mike James Artist.
Mike James Artist.
People can always contact me through there. Yeah, Mike James Artist.
So how's
I mean, at some point when we move on, like I'm planning on doing series 2. At some point, I'll be putting a website out that's going to have easier access to it. But for now, because this is just an independent release, it's just coming up through that through Facebook. I have a Facebook, like the group has got 1,000 members in it now, so they get to see any of the highlights and stuff. So the more people that join, the better it is all around. They get to see more stuff. I get to share things about the different performers or any other cool stuff that I see involving the sideshow. I get to share that on the page and stuff too, so it's kind of neat.
So who are some of the performers that you've included in this set?
Well, Orvax and Sweet Pepper are in there. My biggest hero from when I was younger was Jim Rose. I remember seeing him when I was in college, and I mean back when I was younger, I guess 1920, he was the guy that had started everything for modern sideshow, as far as I was concerned. He started bringing sideshow out on concert tours and stuff like that, so it was really, really cool, and his show is fantastic.
Yeah.
So he's in the set. Lizard Man.
Lizard
He's always
Man.
on the cover of Ripley's, Believe It or Not, and stuff.
Everybody's going to know who Lizard Man is. Everybody has seen that guy for sure.
Yeah.
The covered
So
in the
he's
tattoos.
fantastic. I mean, oh yeah, head to toe, you know.
Yeah.
So he's in there. If you look around, like if you look at the names, Reggie Bugmuncher, James Taylor, he's an awesome historian. I actually got to, there was a show in Toronto where we showcased the cards for the first time last weekend, and James Taylor came out from Baltimore. So I got to talk with him. I met him, a good few months before that. We went out to the bar, and he signed his cards. He happened to be out from Baltimore that time, too, so I got to sit down and talk with him, and he's fascinating. He's fantastic.
Wow.
Oh, man, there's so many. Gordo Gamzee, he's really cool. Space Cowboy, you might want to Google him. He's awesome as well.
Space Cowboy.
Space Cowboy, yeah, he's really neat. One of my favorite pieces of art in this set is Ariel Manx. He actually is a sword swallower, but he does backflips when the swords are in him.
Whoa.
So, yeah, if you go and check out some videos of that, it gives me the heebie-jeebies, but it's fantastic.
Now, what is his name again?
Ariel Manx.
Ariel Manx. Okay, we'll check him out on YouTube.
A-E-R-I-A-L-M-A-N-X. Yeah, check him out.
We might have to share a couple of his videos.
He's awesome to watch.
We'll share some of his videos on our Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, if you just look up any of the names of who's in the set, it's only a 20-card set.
Mm-hmm.
So the only person that you're probably going to have some trouble finding would be Monsieur Stinky Pants. That was actually me back in the day. So I didn't know whether to put myself in the set or not, but I thought it kind of made sense since I was the artist and the graphics guy and
right, sure,
and everything. So I threw myself in there, but there's really no. You can Google me all day, and I'm pretty sure all you'll come up with is an alcoholic beverage called the Monster Stinky Pants.
Now, does Monster Stinky Pants have an auto card in this set too?
Oh yeah. All 20 people in the base set, they've all signed as well.
Okay.
Which is fantastic to me. I think that was awesome that we could do that.
Yeah, that is. So you've already decided there's going to be a Welcome to the Show Series 2 then?
Oh, I want to keep it going as long as I can because there are so many amazing performers out there. And I mean, I had decided before I even picked the checklist that it was only going to be 20 cards to start because I didn't know what the market would be like. I didn't know what the reception would be like. But it's been so fantastic. I've even had sideshow performers contacting me now saying, I'd love to be in a future set. So now it's a matter of let's sort out who is going to be in the next one and the next one, and I just want to keep it going because I just think that there's something really cool here.
There is.
In the sense that a lot of people who don't know anything about sideshow are going to look at this and still buy a set because they're really interesting. And I've already had a number of people buying from me who they've already said to me, I don't know anything about sideshow, but I just think it's an awesome idea.
It's
and then they're going to go and look. Every card, I put contact information, links to Facebook pages and stuff for every one of the performers on the backs of the card. So people who don't know who a performer is can go and, check them out online and start to follow them. And I'm betting there's going to be a lot of people who aren't even fans who are going to look at this and be like, I can't believe these guys are doing this.
Yeah.
And I've even had people asking me, like, are these real people or are they just people that you created, who don't even know? And I'm like, just Google some of these guys and you'll see how amazing they are and some of the incredible stuff they do.
It's fascinating for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Mike James. Everybody go out and buy Welcome to the Show cards. And is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap this up?
No, I think that's pretty good. I think we covered a lot of stuff.
Okay. Well, Mike James, thank you very much for calling into our show. We really appreciate it. And
no, I'm happy to do it.
Make sure that let me know when Welcome to the Show Series 2 comes out. We'll do another show.
Oh, it's probably going to be 6 months down the road. Let's try and plan on that.
Great. Mike James, everybody.
Check out ballcube.com for all your memorabilia display and the storage needs. And don't forget to check us out on Twitter at TSCS Podcast, the Sports Card Show. Also check out our Facebook page and feel free to email us with any comments, show ideas, or anything else you want to email us about at thatsportscardshow@gmail.com. And we'll see you next episode.